So I think it's also very important now to hear from these business perspectives on the kind of actions they're taking as well to create change also on their product ranges and in their various market segments. So this is what we're going to be listening to now. And I would like to call on the stage then Lynn Grega. She is Vice President of Global Compliance and Technology Marketing at the Sherwin-Williams company. So please, can you welcome Lynn? She will be talking about safety by design.
Yes.
Please, Lynn, over to you. And please, if you make your way, okay. Yeah, please make your way over here.
Okay, I have a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to stay here, but I think I'm good.
Is it okay for the camera? Yeah, it's okay? The camera is okay? Yeah? Okay, no, so it's fine. You can be there.
Okay, we checked it out. Thank you. I so appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today. I'm going to start out by talking about the landscape that we are working in as an industry. And then I'm going to go into why we felt the need to use safety by design, and I'm going to give you a case study. I'll tell you a little bit about what Sherwin-Williams packaging does also, which is can coatings. So, where are we here? Okay, so let me start with the current landscaping. As many of you are aware, the packaging industry in Europe is at a turning point. We're accelerating towards a circular economy, envisioning a future where packaging materials are reusable or recyclable by 2030. Among the different types of packaging available, the metal can has remained a sustainable choice favored by the market due to its infinite recyclability. So at Sherwin-Williams Packaging, we view metal packaging as the gold standard for the future of the packaging industry. And what we do is we make coatings for the interior and exterior of the can. So the importance of these packaging coatings that my division of Sherwin-Williams makes is something that many don't realize. The vital role that can coatings play in achieving safe and sustainable packaging. To be very simple about it, can coatings, the interior, protects the metal can from being corroded by the food or beverage, and it protects the food or beverage by being adulterated by the metal. There are some who don't even realize that cans are coated, we found out. Can coatings are vital to protecting the taste and quality of a product, protecting the can's structural integrity and longevity, making it possible for more varieties to be packed in cans. And the performance of the can coatings, that really in and of itself is vital to safety. You don't want the can coating to be flaking off, to be not performing and migrating even more than what is necessary into food. So the changing regulatory environment in Europe. I know some of you are aware that in October 2020, the European Commission published its chemical strategy for sustainability. The strategy urges innovation to transition to chemicals that are safe and sustainable by design, protecting human health and the environment from hazardous chemicals. It's a process to put chemicals, materials, products, and technologies on the market that are not only safe, but that deliver environmental value through their application. So this approach to innovation is needed now more than ever as the regulatory environment in Europe continues to strive for the highest level of protection for human health and the environment. Compliance with existing food contact regulations is no longer necessarily enough. So simply removing a single chemical of concern, a substance with hazardous properties to health or the environment, doesn't go far enough to ensure longevity of new technologies. New chemicals of concern are continuously being identified. We are operating in a very dynamic and changing environment. And to ensure the health and safety of consumers, we need to think about beyond traditional technologies. And in particular in my business, as we are developing new can coatings. If we fail to do this, the industry risks falling into a pattern of regrettable substitution where one chemical could be banned only to be replaced with something that's deemed just as harmful or perhaps even more harmful. So that results in inferior technologies ultimately that won't meet the increasingly challenging performance requirements of the future. The ability to adapt to this fast-changing regulatory environment while providing the safest chemicals possible is now critical for suppliers. And in my company, the principles of safe and sustainable by design have been built into our product development process for over a decade. And so that is our safety by design. And let me say, one of the reasons that we want to share this new rigorous product development process that we have is to just be transparent and to offer it as something else that perhaps others would consider using. Safety by design is a topic that we hear many people discussing, but there's not necessarily a good definition around it. And to some, it perhaps is not a rigorous or robust, well-defined process. So we have been committed to developing and commercializing innovative packaging technologies. And so when we do that, we don't want to waste our resources. We want to put them towards a technology that is going to be safe and sustainable in the future, and that's why we pioneered our new development process. New meaning for us, it's been a decade old. We've evolved it over the decade to ensure that we're going to stand up to scientific rigor over the long term. Our safety by design was inspired by the pharmaceutical industry's process for bringing novel materials to the market. So you're going through sort of a filter where it goes through one test, if it makes it through that, another, and then you throw them out at the very beginning if it's not meeting the safety standards. So at its core, safety by design is a process by which chemicals are evaluated for our coatings, and they are supported by toxicological testing and data collection. It ensures that substances are safe for their intended use, they are not endocrine active, and they can stand the test of time in this ever-changing environment that we're operating in. So in practice, this is our filter or our funnels. So we start at the top at level 1. We start by screening and evaluating numerous candidate raw materials with the goal of identifying those that have high performance qualities with minimal safety risks. So those first steps in the process are based on initial performance assessments and public available scientific literature. We get drawn into this process at the very earliest stages of ideation by our research and development chemists. When they think they have something good, they bring us in and we start the screening process. Raw materials that meet our safety and performance standards then are monitored for chemicals of concern. That in and of itself is something that is evolving and something that is a challenge. We're always looking for new ways to identify new chemicals of concern. And so we look at candidate lists. In the United States, we have California's Proposition 65. We're always looking at that. That frequently is different than some of the other lists. The ChemSec SIN list is another example. ECHA, or the European Chemical Agency's Substances of Very High Concern, is one more example. And that helps to ensure from the beginning that we're not formulating our great new product with chemicals of concern. And then we try to anticipate future listings, which it's difficult to get a clear crystal ball. The further we try to look into the future, the hazier that crystal ball becomes. So we try to anticipate future listings of chemicals by tracking new peer-reviewed scientific publications on our candidate raw materials and by monitoring upcoming assessments from groups like IARC, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, for example. That feeds into California's Proposition 65, and that can move pretty quickly once it hits some of these agencies. So before I move on to the next stage, I do want to note that if we're looking at something that is very state-of-the-art or novel, And that's going to be the case study I give you. We are going to go through every single step. We're going to use every part available. Sometimes, though, we get something where there's a lot of data and literature, and we don't need to, we're going through the steps, but we're not doing like actual new toxicological testing. But in the case of new technologies, things that are more state of the art, new formulations, new reformulations where the data does not already exist, raw materials that are not currently characterized as chemicals of concern, perhaps more because there's a lack of data on those chemicals. Then we test them, then we go to the step where you see endocrine activity testing. And if the results conclude that there's a lack of endocrine activity, we then conduct more toxicological testing. So we're on step 5 now to ensure that there are minimal risks of general, genetic, reproductive, and developmental toxicological effects. So the remaining raw materials that make it through all of that, then we get into analytical testing. We are doing migration testing to see, we want minimal hazards and minimal exposure for the very lowest level of risk and to offer the safest coatings as possible. And so then that gives us something that is protective with respect to food safety, and it meets our customers' high performance requirements, which it's not only to serve our customer, but those performance requirements play into safety also. So like I said, this process has been in place for over a decade now, and we've taken a proactive approach to continually evolve the process. And the recognition that it must evolve and that we must respond to the dynamic environment is an important thing. Like, you can't just develop this process and think that it's not going to ever change. It needs to change as new techniques, as new scientific knowledge become available. And then that helps to avoid regrettable substitution. So ensuring longevity, safety, and sustainability. So this enables us to deliver safe, sustainable, high-performing, and innovative coating solutions around the world. And like I said at the very beginning, we want to be transparent with this process. We want to share it with others because we believe that it's the industry's most robust product development process. We're open to suggestions, we're open to collaboration. We involve toxicologists, non-governmental organizations, independent laboratories, and universities as needed to ensure safety, ensuring that our products have independent third-party scrutiny as needed. Not only are we considering current regulatory requirements, but we're anticipating emerging regulations and safety concerns and consumer brands and brand preferences. So as a result, we've been able to bring long-term packaging solutions to the market, products that have stood the test of time, support our customers to meet their packaging goals, and most importantly, provide safe and sustainable solutions utilizing modern safety techniques. So I want to give you a case study. Bringing a new technology for food contact to market presents multiple challenges. This example, our Valpure V70, this is a good case study because this was something very state-of-the-art, something that was not used, the technology was not used anywhere commercially, globally on the planet. So we really had a lot of work to get this product that we believed could be very safe, sustainable, and high-performing to market. We launched it in the United States in 2016. It's approved in food contact across the European Union and other parts of the world. It was not when we started, not at all. We needed to do all of that work. We developed it when the industry started exploring different coating technologies to transition away from BPA. Most suppliers started with acrylic and polyester, but we soon realized that those chemistry platforms couldn't match the performance of traditional epoxy coatings with respect to flavor performance, pack performance. Those go directly into safety also, or ease of application. And so to reach those performance standards the market required, we needed an epoxy coating, but without the BPA or concerns of many bisphenols. So the case of Valpure V70, through our safety by design, state-of-the-art chemical screening and toxicological testing, we identified tetramethyl bisphenol F as a starting monomer. It's structurally different from other bisphenols, and that structural difference is what, at the beginning, we believed would prevent TMBPF, that's the acronym for it, from exhibiting estrogenic activity. It could have seemed counterintuitive to use another bisphenol. However, we wanted to find a technology that had the performance and without the other concerns. So based on that hypothesis, we then needed to do the testing to prove that. And so we needed to develop an entirely new body of evidence on TMBPF, and we established that. And today, TMBPF is one of the most researched substances for use as a food contact monomer in food contact materials. So just to show you what the result of all of that was, after more than a decade, we did create a long-term solution that's safe, sustainable, has met the most stringent regulatory requirements and even gone beyond them for food contact materials. We've been approved around the world. We've even had recognitions and clearances, if you will, that weren't necessary from a legal point of view, such as from the French Agency for Food, Environmental, and Occupational Health and Safety, which they concurred that there's no endocrine activity. So just to summarize, our safety by design process in the development of our example, Valpure V70, demonstrates that both regulatory and performance challenges can be overcome through rigorous R&D methodologies, state-of-the-art chemical screening, and toxicological testing. Importantly, we've demonstrated that we can provide safe and sustainable solutions using modern safety assessment methods. It can ultimately lead to long-term packaging solutions that are safe and sustainable, meet stringent requirements for food contact materials today and in years to come. Thank you.
Just wait in case we have. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that perspective. Do we have any questions in the audience for Lynn? We have one at the, okay, we have two. Okay, well, oh, three, okay. Let's go for it. Yep.
Of course, it's really wonderful. Is both the badge equivalent and the bisphenol equivalent both tetramethyl BPF? Or is the badge made of?
I'm going to let you answer that, Sarah. So I have our chemist and EMEA director here, and I have one of our toxicologists here also.
Yes, thank you, Lynn. Thank you for the question. I see you know very well the technology. Visibly, indeed, the substance that we use in the coating is a badge equivalent, if you would say. Now, because of especially the similarity in terms of name of the substance we are using as a precursor, it was highly tested as well to make sure that it had none of the characteristics that BPA can have.
And that included the endocrine activity testing?
It was, both were tested. The one which is used to make the coating is a badge equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a question here.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yes.
I appreciate you were saying that you're trying to keep up with all of the scientific evidence that's coming out, and I appreciate those challenges. Mm-hmm. I just wondered how much of the evidence that you're producing from your testing are you putting back into the literature to be open access and available for others?
So most of the data that we have produced is publicly available. There are some cases where we cannot make it publicly available, and it is published also. Like, for example, the REACH regulations. Sometimes if you're a member of a CEF and we're like the lead registrant, you are not allowed to publish that because other CEF members have to pay for that. So in some cases, we may have a summary of the study that was done. But yes, we are publishing those studies, and we try to be as transparent as we are legally able to do. So yes, they are available.
Okay, over here.
Yes.
I'm sorry for my skeptical comments, but how are you sure that your product is 100% safe and you didn't miss something, maybe not that huge, but that will be a bomb in the next 10 years?
So the concept that I said whenever I was talking about evolving is a very important one for the reason that you said. There's always new ways to analyze, new techniques, new information has become available. I mean, case in point, BPA. There was a time when everybody thought that BPA was safe. So we are continually looking at our process. We are continually evaluating new methods, new techniques, and we're continually considering, do we need to go back and relook at some of our existing products? I mean, I'm not just talking about V70 here. For example, all of the emerging data on PFAS. We went back and looked at our product line and decided to move away from PFAS, even before the regulations are requiring us to do that. So it's always evolving. We are determining safety based on the best information that we have at that point in time.
Okay, can we have one more? Yep.
Thanks. Just a quick comment, Lynn. Thank you so much. Thanks
sure.
also for sharing this. I think it's important that we also have your perspective. And you did work with a lot of different stakeholders. You had a slide up there with many different logos on there. And it's true, the Food Packaging Forum, so I was also participating at one of the meetings. A couple of our scientific advisory board members also have worked with you. Just to make it really clear, it was great, the collaboration, but putting the logo up there doesn't mean that we're endorsing the product.
Oh, yes. Yes,
yes,
we probably should have had a disclaimer on that.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks
And our goal in that was to just hear the different voices and get as much information as we could. Yes.
I just
Yes.
had to say that.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, we have quite a few questions, so are you okay to take a few more?
Sure.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
just do it, because I think it's great. So we
Okay.
have one over here, one over here, one over here, okay? So
Okay.
we'll take three more.
Okay.
Take three more. At the back, at the back, at the back. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, there's one more. Okay, it's
Okay.
4, but we'll get through it. 4, no more. Okay.
What happens with the coating at the recycling process?
It is, what's the word I want to use? Annihilated. Yeah, disintegrated. It is gone. Yes, so it's not even a thing. Yeah.
What about the stability of this bisphenol F derivative? Is it stable with time and under conditions, under temperature conditions, for example? Is it stable, or is it degraded to bisphenol F or whatever?
No, it is stable. Yes, and we can talk more about that. I mean, analytically, we have done. My focus today was on the safety part of it. You know, if it's not safe, it's not sustainable, like you said. But this falls under a greater sustainability by design process that is another presentation. So we've done life cycle assessments and all of that. We've even been shortlisted for awards on sustainability. Our LCAs are very scientifically based. So, yes.
Okay.
So I'm sure not everybody knows the whole story, and it's a bit of a long story, but I think one of the reasons that certain European regulatory bodies have moved away from using endocrine disruption or endocrine toxicity as a primary endpoint is because there's been an ongoing debate for years now about how that research is done and whether we look at U-shaped curves as valid and whether we look at effects at the lowest doses. So can we hear from your toxicologist about whether you're looking at that in terms of endocrine disruption?
Did you hear the question, Khadija?
Okay, so maybe we get a second
Might have
mic,
to-
or
Yes.
yeah. So would it be one of you on endocrine disruption? I mean,
Yes.
we're putting people a bit on the spot, but you know, whatever you can share.
Yeah, can you just briefly repeat the question one more time, please? Yeah, so you're wondering, so I believe she's wondering about any effects that can occur at lower doses rather than people wondering about all doses that are at concentrations that are basically not biologically relevant. Basically, in our study designs, we do the best that we can to try to look at physiologically relevant doses to be incorporated into our study designs as well as the higher doses in terms of that. And because keep in mind that this all comes down to us thinking about the entire risk associated with it. And normally when people think about that, they think about it being that as long as you have lower doses that you don't have to be concerned. However, we think it's important to make sure that that is not our exact philosophy, that we actually doing our due diligence to make sure that we are actually guaranteeing this can be safe.
Okay, thank you. We'll just take one last one over here, please.
Thank you. Well, I'm not into science, but I actually get a bit worried about this. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Sorry, yes.
I want to make sure I hear the question. Okay.
So how big part of the market of coatings do you do? And do you share the good work, that it sounds good to me, with your competitors? Because how do we know in which cans are the good coatings and which are not?
I mean, ours are good, yeah. So I can't, just as the general answer to that is I can't speak to competitive products. We are a major supplier in that market. Do we share with our competitors? I can tell you in trade associations, we have shared our safety by design. It doesn't mean that others adopt it necessarily. You know, like I said, I can't speak to what others do, but we have been transparent with this process and we are willing to share it with all stakeholders. You know, all of you, our competitors, trade associations, governmental authorities. Safety by design is something that a lot of people are throwing around, and there's not, everybody has a different definition of it. We believe that the definition should be something that is based on science, that is robust, and that is a well-defined protocol that you follow. So for example, how I said we evolve our process based on what we're seeing, because we've been doing this for a decade. If we're changing it in such a way, like we will even pilot it to make sure that we're doing a very mindful, you know, re-engineering of it if we need to, or tweaking of it.
Okay, brilliant. A warm round of applause for Lynn. Thank you for taking all these questions. I appreciate there's a strong desire to have this dialogue, so thank you for joining this audience today. Thank you so much.